The phone lines are open for your opportunity to speak your mind and give your opinion on the most influential music ever made. Your voice, your topics, your show. This is Free for All Friday with host Eddie Trunk.
And a happy Free for All Friday, folks. 8th day of May, 2026, 3 o'clock in the east, noon in the west. It's Eddie Trunk, indeed, back live with you guys to finish up the week here on this Friday after a couple days off. Hope you guys had a good couple days since I was on with you last live, which was on Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed the best ofs yesterday with Slash and whatever we brought to you on Wednesday, which was what, Joel?
It was Triumph and Ted Nugent.
There you go. So hope you enjoyed that, and it's good to be back live with you as promised to wrap up the week on the ever-popular Free-for-All Fridays as we head into a weekend, a Mother's Day weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there celebrating on Sunday. My mom is very anti-Mother's Day on Sunday. So we're going to go out tonight. She does not like the crowds. She does not like the amount of people. She doesn't like all of that, which is good for me because who does? So her position is I'll do something, but not on Sunday when everything's too crowded. So we'll get that out of the way tonight. Little Mother's Day celebration. Whatever you're doing, hope it's good. Hope the weather's good. I am back in New Jersey. I flew here last night. And it's shitty and looks like it's going to be shitty all weekend, unfortunately. But such as it is, nothing you can do about it and power through. But wherever you are and whatever you're doing, hope you have a good weekend. And thanks for finishing up the week with me here for a couple hours as we talk rock every day in the 3 to 5 Eastern window live here on Trunk Nation. I had a flight back to New Jersey. No real issues. You always never know when you fly these days. Although something happened that was extremely annoying. Plane is packed. 5-6 hour flight. And I fly United, which is where all my status is, so I'm almost always on United. And United has this thing on the app where you can tell, it tells you how close you are to getting upgraded. And I was one away from the upgrade with 2 open seats in first. So I'm like, I'm getting the upgrade. I'm going to get the recliner seat. It's going to be great. And of course, somehow miraculously, those 2 seats disappear. So that went away. So then I'm in Economy Plus, which is what I always get with my status. I have like top fly status because I fly so much on that airline. So I'm like, okay, I got my aisle. I'm in Economy Plus. I'll deal. And I'm looking and, you can, if you guys fly a lot, you can look at these apps. They'll tell you everything. They'll tell you if your bag's on the plane. They'll tell you open seats. But there's all these maneuvers they make, like people on standby you can't account for, or sometimes a pilot will walk on at the last minute that needs a seat. So you never know, until that door closes. It's like you're waiting for that door to close. It's like we're fully boarded and hope there's an open seat next to you. Because that's all I care about when I fly is room. Don't drink on the planes. Don't care about the shitty food. Just room. Leg room, elbow room, room. So you got that empty seat next to you. I mean, you can kick up the armrest. Get some nice breathing room, right? So I'm looking, and this plane is full to the gills. But I'm looking at the seat map, and the only seat that was open was the middle seat in the row that I was in. So this is like perfect, right? So I'm like, close the door, close the door, close the door. Finally, they announce We are fully boarded. Thank you very much. We're going to get out here. So I'm like, yes. What are the odds? One open seat on the entire plane, and it's the middle one next to me. So I'm like, beautiful. It's going to be I can kick the armrest up. You can put some stuff over there. I usually share the little middle table with the guy in the window. It's great. It's great. It's great. So we take off, and I notice the guy in the window, he's talking to, I guess, his wife behind him, who was in the window in the row behind him. And I don't know, they were like writers or something, because they kept passing like this computer up and down over the aisle to each other. Like, check that, check that. I'm like, what are these guys doing? Finally, we're up in the air like 10 minutes into the flight. They're still doing it. And the husband turns around and goes, oh, hon, there's an open seat. Why don't you just come up, sit up here with me? Oh, okay, I'll do that. I'm like, what did I just hear? Wait, what's happening? Sure enough, 2 seconds later, the lady's like, excuse me, I'm going to wedge in there. What? Oh my God, I was seething. She goes, yeah, just for a couple minutes. I got to sit in there. Okay. The couple minutes was for 4.5 hours. She never left. So what am I going to do? You know, want to be a dick? Want to be that guy? Hey, I know that's not your seat. I was hoping for that elbow room. Oh my God. What a shit luck that was. Like, and again, what am I going to do? You really should go back to your seat. Like, what am I going to get into a thing? So you see, the airlines police that. If you try to go from like regular economy to economy plus, even if there's open seats, they'll come at you because they charge if you don't have status for economy plus. But she was moving within the same category. They were both in economy plus. But I was like, what are the odds? Oh, God, come on up, hon. Let's have some food and let's talk the whole time and let's work on our computers. Don't worry about the guy that thought he was going to have a half of an extra seat next to him for his elbows. Nah, let's have a good time. It ruined my whole flight, I will admit. I was obsessing on it. They would have never known. Like, I didn't ever outwardly show anything. I'm not going to be that guy. And inside, I was cursing them out left and right. But externally, I was like, oh, yeah, would you like a bag of pretzels here? Thank you. Yeah, pass her pretzels too, please. I'm telling you, when you fly as much as I do, these little things, like these little triggers, it's crazy. But, that was the worst that happened. At least the guy didn't clip a street light or a car on his way in. I don't know if you guys heard that story last week. United flight coming into Newark, exactly where I go, clipped a street light and a roof of a car coming in off the turnpike landing. It's all over the news a few days ago. As I'm walking on, the pilot's there greeting people. I almost said, yeah, stay clear of those lighting posts. But I didn't want to say that because then the guy might shoot me a look or whatever. I don't know. I keep my mouth shut. I am as non-confrontational as I can get, even though inside I'm chewing nails on something. Externally, yeah, enjoy your flight. Oh, man. I'm glad that guy had quality time. Got to do all his work while I was seething. Anyway, that was my night. And here we are to finish up the week and go into the weekend. Of course, back live with you on Monday, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Next week, I think we have Jason Newstead, one of the days.
Tuesday,
we've got Jason. Looking forward to that. Jason is been in the news quite a bit lately because he's done some interviews already on other outlets talking about and revealing a cancer diagnosis. So he is getting himself out there quite a bit. Like I said, he's one of these guys that he either lays super low or he's like everywhere when he comes back from underground, when he goes off the grid. So he is back, reinvigorated once again. We'll talk to him next week as our, as of now, first guest on the show, which will be on Tuesday. And then we'll go from there. We'll keep you posted. One of the things that I did on the last couple of days was I saw the Michael Jackson biopic, which is in theaters now and is doing extremely well in terms of box office. Being a music nerd and a fan of all this stuff, it was something I wanted to see because I heard a lot about it. And it was very well done. I saw it in IMAX, looked and sounded amazing. But here's the criticism, which of course you've probably heard about from others if you've read reviews. They paint Michael Jackson as a saint. And none of the scandals, allegations, etc., are in there. It is a complete revisionist take on his story. Now, we know, as I tell you guys all the time, there is a huge difference between a documentary and a biopic. A documentary is supposed to be a factual, real accounting of what happened in a person or artist's life and career. A biopic is when Hollywood gets a hold of it and embellishes it and writes scripts and writes stories and, can do creative, selective things to do whatever they want with the storyline. So again, keeping in mind, this is a biopic, not a documentary. It is an acted, scripted film. The director, in this case, Antoine Fuqua, I believe is how you pronounce his name, has done a lot of big movies before, opted to completely ignore all of the scandal and, in some cases, heinous allegations about Michael Jackson. And they decided, the most controversial thing in the entire film is when he gets a nose job. So that'll tell you something. It basically stops, the storyline stops shortly after Thriller. You see the Bad album get released, and you see him doing that song, and then that's where the story stops. So strategically, by stopping the story there, it obviously, the other stuff came after that, so they didn't have to address it. Somebody said to me, maybe they'll do a part 2 where they'll get into all that. No, I do not think that's happening. Because a friend of mine who works in Hollywood was telling me earlier, they did initially plan to get into some of that stuff, but because of settlements and legal stuff and settlements with the families, they were not able to do it. And because Michael Jackson's family and all of the Jacksons, the surviving Jacksons, were involved in this, this is a fully sanctioned thing by the family, they were not having it and would not allow the film to come out if they went into those areas. But interestingly, the only person of the Jacksons that is not portrayed in the movie is Janet Jackson. She opted out of the whole thing to the point where they do not even show or reference her when they do the scenes when they're kids growing up in the family in the house. Like, she is the only one. When you watch the film, and I watched all the credits, you'll see all the names come up of all the brothers and sisters and everything as producers and what have you. Janet is not even portrayed in the movie. So whatever went on there, and I had, some people told me they had to do a $50 million re-edit to this movie because she wanted out and wanted to be out of it and was upset about things that I guess they did not cover. Or something along those lines. So that was really interesting. So there is a degree of controversy with this thing. But at the end of the day, it's doing gangbusters at the box office. And, you know, the only other criticism I would have is the fact that, for me, some of the performance scenes were a little long. Like, there were a couple songs they showed the entire song. And, you know, if I was more into dance and pop music, maybe I would have loved that more. But, you know, I didn't need to see the actor sing the song bad in its entirety at the end for 4 minutes or whatever. I would have been fine with 60 seconds roll credits. And the guy who plays Michael Jackson, not when he's a little kid, but when he's older, is incredible. And I guess he, from what I understand, is a nephew or something. He's a relative. His last name is Jackson. And they also said at the end in the credits, introducing, which usually means it's the person's first movie. For that guy to have that be his first movie with all he did in that, that's insane. He's dancing, he's singing. I think it was a real vocal. I mean, I don't know if it was an overdub or what, but it was crazy. He looked like him. So that was incredible. But, you know, again, worth watching, good movie, but you got to take it for what it is. It is a Hollywood, you know, complete rewriting or, you know, editing or leaving out huge parts of, you know, so much of the stuff that went on around Michael Jackson, whether it be the drugs, whether it be the allegations with children, whether it be the animals. I mean, they do show you him with the animals, but they never show you him building Neverland or any of that. Again, it stops around bad. The only thing that leads to the drug use, you know, which of course Michael Jackson died because he was putting himself to sleep using anesthesia. And the only thing that alludes to drug use is when his hair burned, when he made that Pepsi commercial. They show you the actor, you know, in the hospital, and he's like, he goes, they said, well, you're going to be in pain for a while. You need to take these pain meds. He's like, I don't want to take the pain meds. I don't like taking the pain meds. Well, that's shortchanged. You know, so there's like a little reference to the drug thing, but that was it. And then, you know, when he gets the nose job, his father gives him shit about it or something. But that was it. That's the only sniffs of controversy about anything. But otherwise, you know, if you want just the good stuff and the historic stuff and the music stuff, that's all very much in there. So I figured I'd give you a little report on that. Bunch of other quick news to hit you with here today. Then we'll get right over to your calls to finish up the show on our jammed lines here on a free-for-all Friday. But again, a little catching up to do since I wasn't on live the last couple days. Sleep Token, big band out of England. This anonymous band, we've talked about them before. Their last record went to #1 on the charts. Clearly one of the biggest current rock bands out there. Their latest album, celebrating a year being out, called Even in Arcadia. They decided to release an instrumental version of the album, which is interesting. That is available today. There is a legendary punk icon from the Seattle area by the name of Paul Soldier, released an album called 20 Years MIA. Duff McKagan does a guest vocal on the lead track. Also Stone Gossard of course, Pearl Jam involved in this record as well. What else do I have for you? Ann Wilson has a documentary coming out, In My Voice. Today she released a single that goes with the doc called Nothing But Love, that was written by Burt Bacharach. I've not yet seen Ann Wilson's documentary. Looking forward to doing so. I've got a few things to watch and listen to over the weekend that I'll be able to report on Monday, but I don't have that yet, but I do have a couple things. Got the Glenn Matlock documentary, which I'm going to try to get in over the weekend. American Idol, a show I've literally never watched, believe it or not. Monday is the latest season finale. Motley Crue have been announced to be performing on that, no doubt to help promote their current tour. And joining them on the performance will be Carrie Underwood, which leads me to believe that the odds are that Motley Crue will perform Home Sweet Home on this performance, given that Carrie Underwood actually did a version of that song. What else? News making the rounds all over the place on the internet. We've talked about this before. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, for that matter, have not seen a podcast they won't do. So they are extremely busy doing podcasts of all levels. Gene did one, Kiss by Slena is the name of this podcast. Again, I'm just trying to give proper credit. Because he revealed in this podcast interview that there is a new Kiss song coming that was written and is sung by Paul Stanley. It's called Kiss by Sienna. Joel just corrected me. So there you go. But if you have a podcast, call Gene or Paul, because there's a good chance they'll be on it. It's a Paul Stanley written song. I'm assuming he sings it as well. So apparently new Kiss music at some point of some sort. It has been over 13 years since there has been any new Kiss music. They have been a band. We've talked about this before. Some classic bands, we talked to Cheap Trick about this. Tom Peterson was just on. The Rolling Stones clearly are in the camp of we are songwriters, we are musicians, we are making new records every year or two, no matter what, and no matter how many people buy them. Kiss historically has had the other position. Nobody cares. Rock is dead. Nobody plays it. If we play it live, nobody wants to hear it. So, there are some artists in that camp. Kiss have been, but now at least a single likely coming. And by the way, if you were at the Kiss Vegas event last year, they did allude to new music at that in the Q&A as well. So anybody that was paying attention at that knows this is not an entirely new story. When it comes out, name of the song, any further details we do not know, and it appears at this point to just be a single. So that's been making the rounds, though. What else? The Maiden doc opened yesterday. Speaking of movies, again, unlike a biopic, this is a documentary. Burning Ambition, Iron Maiden's documentary, premiered in theaters yesterday. I was traveling, so I could not go. I did not see it. If you saw it, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I believe it's in theaters continuing over the weekend. Joel, do you know if that's the case? Was it one day only yesterday, or is it still playing?
It's still going. I believe it was Thursday, Saturday, and I'll check. There was a third day. I'm not sure if it was Sunday or if it went into next week. I'll check before we go to break.
But not tonight, huh? Not a Friday showing?
At least not in New York, because I was looking at going to it last night, and I got wrapped up in some other work, but I was going to go see it last night, so I had checked the schedule, and it was Thursday night, Saturday. I specifically remember noting that.
Yeah, my buddy Stoney went in Vegas yesterday. He said it was good. He said it's clearly more of a fan thing. It's, and when Steve Harris was on with us from the Monsters Cruise, again, you can hear it on the app and now on the podcast, by the way. Steve said, it was when I asked him about it, he was very clear. He said, we did not make this movie. This was a movie made about us by outside people, but they are clearly involved in it, to the point that there was a premiere of it in London yesterday and some of the members attended. So that might be something you want to check out over the weekend. Of course, like most of these documentaries, if you don't, all the music-based stuff lasts a couple days in theaters and then days later available for streaming. So, but if you want to see it on a big screen, that would be a way to do it. It is not, somebody brought up earlier in the week, maybe it'll be IMAX. It is not IMAX. You just can't take a movie and put it in an IMAX theater. It has to be shot that way. And it's very expensive to use those cameras and that sort of thing. So it's not of that budget. But I hear it's quite good, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And, thing like this, when you think about Maiden in a 50-year history, you wonder how they get it all in 90 minutes or 2 hours. You kind of wish it would be one of these like 6-part, 1-hour Netflix deals. When this movie was originally announced, it was announced as a Netflix documentary. And I thought it was going to be exactly that. And then it changed. Something changed there. I remember bringing that up to Steve Harris as well in the recent interview. And he said, yeah, there was some changes or something happened or something. Story changed or the deal changed or what have you. But if you saw it, because it did hit theaters yesterday in certain cities, I'd love to hear your thoughts today when we go to the phones here shortly. A couple days ago, Deep Purple announced they've made another new album. So, like I was just talking about with Kiss, who are not of the belief of making new music for a band with a deep, old catalog, Deep Purple, a band with an even older catalog, is clearly very much in the other camp of making a new record every couple years, because they literally make a new album at least every 2 years now, which when you consider they are a band nearly 80 or some members in their 80s is remarkable. Same with the Stones, who of course announced a new album recently. The next Deep Purple album will come out on July 3rd. It is called Splat. And it is once again produced by Bob Ezrin, who, we've had Roger Glover, we've had Ian Gillan on this show talking about their new albums. And Bob Ezrin and what he brings to this plays a huge role in why they like making records. They love working with Ezrin and they like what he brings to it and how he works with them. So that continues with new Deep Purple music coming. The other thing interesting is Ian Gillan said in the press release for this that this is one of the heavier albums Deep Purple have made in recent times, as they try to channel back a little bit more towards their early 70s in rock Machine Head heyday. And speaking of documentaries, super excited for this. There is indeed going to be a documentary on the Oasis reunion, which took place last year. I wondered about this. They had what was clearly the biggest tour of that year, pretty much, certainly in rock. They did record-breaking stadium business around the world, including in America. The brothers coming back together. It has been documented. And this documentary will hit theaters for a limited run and then go to streaming. And they've already announced the streaming platform to be Disney Plus, which I find hysterical, because when you hear Disney, most immediately go to, Disney, family stuff, kids stuff. And if you know anything about Oasis, literally every other word out of their mouth is fucking this, fucking. Oh, go fucking hell, go fuck. So it's odd to me because Oasis does not scream Disney. But, I've not watched Disney Plus much, but I guess they have a category for the kids stuff, and this one is probably going to be more in the adult language section. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. We'll have to wait a little longer, but it has been officially announced. Also, I had mentioned that, I guess it was on Tuesday, I think I brought this up, a really interesting pairing of a tour was announced earlier this week. A co-headline of the Psychedelic Furs and Living Colour, which is just a very odd bill to me, because Living Colour is a very groove, guitar-heavy, hard rock thing, jammy at times, and, Psychedelic Furs are completely different. So I thought it was a somewhat odd pairing. And now it ain't happening. Because just a few days after it had been announced, it has been announced today that this tour has been canceled. Now, they're not saying it's been canceled because of it being an odd pairing. They're saying it's canceled because of a medical issue regarding somebody in the Psychedelic Furs, which I got to believe is Richard Butler. I think that's the lead singer's name, and he's pretty much the main dude and the one, probably one of the few, if any, original members in that band. I don't know enough about them, but anyway, so this pairing is not happening. I'm sure Living Colour will continue to play and retool and go out in some other way, but the Furs are not going out apparently. Okay, so Joel's saying the Maiden doc is playing tonight throughout the whole weekend. Wednesday of next week, the last day in theaters. The Oasis documentary in theaters and IMAX. Limited theatrical run. The theatrical on the Oasis doc is September 11th, and then afterwards on Disney+. But Oasis is in IMAX. Again, that's big money being spent right there. But okay, so there's the story on the updates on those. It's funny too because Post Malone last week announced the cancellation of his stadium tour. He cited the need to finish his new album. Why am I laughing? Because nobody cancels a tour because they need to finish an album. Do you know what's involved in canceling a tour? Do you know what's involved when you have stadium dates on hold and you have buses and planes and staff and people and bands and rehearsals and all this stuff booked and you had to pay deposits and then you cancel it? Do you know what's involved in that? You don't throw millions of dollars out the window and do that because you got to finish a record. You do that because you weren't selling tickets. And I'm not saying he's not a big artist, but what's really interesting when you dive into some of this stuff is I've been telling you guys about these accounts for a long time online that track ticket sales, tell you when to buy. Because, with the flex pricing, if you wait till the last minute, you get tickets for cheap or for free in some cases. So many people are now starting to figure that out. It's amazing it's taken this long. I've literally been talking about it for years. But the slow drip of it is people are finally figuring it out. And again, I don't ever say this or talk about this because I don't want people to buy tickets. Of course, I want concerts in the ticketing industry and the concert industry to be successful and to do well. But the simple truth is prices have gotten out of control. People are willing to pay mind-blowing amounts of money and have been for a long time, which always just completely blows my mind. But then with this flex pricing that came in where you have to opt in every time you buy a ticket and agree that that ticket might drop by $200, but sucks for you if you bought it for the higher price. People have figured it out. Then why am I buying it early? Why don't I just wait? And again, there are now social media accounts that track all of this. I follow them. I see it in black and white. So I'm bringing this up because Post Malone, who had to cancel because of had to come finish his record. That's the other thing too. When people cancel and they make up these excuses, it's also ridiculous because you can see it on the Ticketmaster map. So they've now got a name for it. When artists cancel tours, because of quote unquote illness or some other issue that they make up. But you can clearly see it's because they didn't sell any tickets. The new term for it online is blue dot fever. And when you say, oh, whoa, the guy was sick, something was wrong with him. Now, Post Malone didn't use that excuse. He used even more ridiculously, I got to finish a record. Like that, with that guy's resources, he could have a mobile studio. He could do the record on the road. But they're calling it blue dot fever because if you go on the Ticketmaster map, you can see all the blue dots signifying all the seats that have not been sold. All the open seats. So I'm seeing this terminology a lot online. I'm getting a kick out of it. Saying, oh, what happened to that tour? What was wrong with that artist? Oh, the artist came down with blue dot fever. And again, I bring this up also because to me, as this becomes more and more obvious and as more and more people are figuring this out, Ticketmaster and these ticketing companies who are, and when it comes to Ticketmaster and Live Nation, under a lot of fire right now, they are going to have to figure something out about this flex pricing thing. Because, again, the problem is, look, Post Malone is a big artist in the pop world, okay? And I don't know what he was charging for tickets, and I don't know why it was stiffing. But the bottom line is this. As people figure this out and continue to wait, you don't know, the promoters don't know if these tickets are ever going to sell, right? Because if you put a show on sale, I mean, that's why for years shows have been going up on sale 6 months, a year before the first date to try to get you to buy early, to lock up your money, to lock up your investment. So now, as people have figured out this whole thing, if people don't buy their tickets and are now realizing I'm not going to buy until a day or two before or the day of, they have no idea if people are actually going to show up. And again, you want the prices to drop. That's your only recourse. And I said this a couple of years ago. If you're a regular listener, I'm like, they're getting away with it now because not enough people are hip to it. But as these social media accounts have come up, as me and more others have talked about it, people aren't stupid. Eventually they figure it out. And I really think that's what's going on. So I think the whole flex pricing thing is going to have to really be reinvented. Because it's the big part of the problem. When they want $500 from you for a ticket, and then you get there and the guy sitting next to you paid $50 because he waited and bought it that afternoon. Blue dot fever. Happy birthday to Alex Van Halen today. Legendary Van Halen drummer is celebrating a birthday. He announced last week there is a book coming simply called Van Halen. Another Alex Van Halen book. This one more about, seems like photos and things like that. Limited edition run. Pre-sales going on for that right now. And also, as you guys know, last month I went to Brazil and hosted a rock festival, Monsters of Rock. I did some backstage interviews with artists before they took the stage. Some of them you can now see online. I posted the links. The folks there in Brazil have been sending me these as they work on them. The ones up now are that young band Jailer, Dirty Honey, Hailstorm, and then Ingve. I think Extreme went up today. So if you look at any of my socials, everything except Facebook, I haven't put it there yet. But if you look at X, if you look at Instagram, if you look at YouTube at Eddie Trunk, you'll see some of these interviews. They're just 2-3 minute interviews, but you get a little taste of some of the stuff I was doing in Brazil last month. Joel, anything you got?
I got a couple of things here, and just jump in and stop me if I was screening calls and you mentioned something already earlier. But the band Dragon Force has announced that they have a new singer. It's the front woman, Alyssa White Glues. I think I said her name right, not positive. But she's the former lead singer of Arch Enemy. She put a little bit of her doing Through the Fire and the Flames on her Instagram, and they announced it officially. You can go check that out. It actually sounds pretty good with a female vocalist. The band Shadows Fall has announced a show, a special 30th anniversary show. It's their only show of the year. It'll be taking place July 18th in Springfield, Massachusetts. The band Steel Panther has released a song to coincide with Mother's Day this weekend. It's called the Mother's Day Song. We'll hear a little bit as we go to break here. The band Clutch has announced tour dates. You can go check that out. That starts this fall. I just wanted to bring up a story. Slipknot's Clown revealed that he needs heart surgery in a podcast with Rick Rubin. Apparently, he's going to be okay. It's going to be a outpatient type procedure, but we just want to wish him well and hope that goes well when he finally gets that done. As for other new music I have today, we have a new album out today from Black Veil Brides, and there's a new track from the Keanu Reeves vehicle Dogstar called This Sphere.
And as for that Steel Panther Mother's Day song, you absolutely do not want to play it for your mother or for your kids or anything like that. It is Steel Panther being Steel Panther. I'll leave it at that. It is not in any way serious, and it is completely over the top. We'll leave it at that in terms of language and sentiment. So just a heads up on that. How nice. We'll play that for Mom for Mother's Day. The kids will. No.
We'll shock everybody with a little bit of it right here.
It is, it's just, it is Steel Panther being Steel Panther. All right, so thank you for that, Joel. Very good stuff all there as well. Very busy Friday here to wrap up the week. So with that, let's get a break, and when we come back, we turn over the rest of the show to you on Trunk Nation on a free-for-all
Friday.
Thank you for continuing to pump out Talk Rock Radio.
Sirius XM's Faction Talk. Now back to Free for All Friday, where freedom of speech is mandatory.
And that's what rock and roll is all about.
Here's your host, Eddie Trunk. Faction Talk.
All right, we are back. Got about an hour and 15 here left before we call it for the week, and we'll give it to you. We're going to start the week as of now on Monday in free-for-all mode, too. So, again, we had some catching up to do here, given that I was off the last couple of days. So, want to give you guys plenty of time to get in. If you don't get in now, remember, we'll start again on Monday at 3 Eastern. I'll give you most of that show as well coming off the weekend. But let's dive right in, see what you guys got as far as stuff going on, concerts, stories, questions, comments, Maiden doc, whatever it may be, anything I threw at you in the news, it's all good. Ticket price stuff, it's all good. Whatever you want to do. Free for all mode officially starts now. And Jonathan in San Francisco is our first caller today. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi, Eddie. I saw the Iron Maiden documentary last night. And just quickly, I enjoyed it. I'm a huge fan. So, of course, I'm going to like it at that level. But, when I see a documentary about something or someone I know a lot about already, I still usually learn something new from it. And I don't think I learned anything new from this at all. It was really quite superficial. There's no one topic that they spend a ton of time on before moving on to the next one. So it's basically Cliff Notes Iron Maiden.
How long is it? Is it 2 hours?
I think just short of that, maybe about an hour 45 or so, something like that.
Is Paul Di'Anno in it?
He is featured in it, and they had a lot of archival interviews. No one from the band was interviewed on camera for this. I think some of them may have been interviewed off camera because they would tell you who was speaking, and from their voices, it sounded more recent, or that it was done specifically for this documentary. But you do see Paul in it, certainly in the early part of the movie.
So wait, you're telling me that there's no like new on-camera interviews with these guys talking about the doc?
Nope. None of that.
That's pretty interesting, right? That's a little odd, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it is odd. I mean, you mentioned that Steve had said to you that they weren't really too involved in it. That it was mostly about the fans, and in fact, they have a lot of fans show up in the movie as talking heads, including the actor Javier Bardem, who's all over this, commenting on Iron Maiden. Everyone's wearing Iron Maiden shirts. So the fans, I mean, they're fine for who they are, but they're just kind of rando fans. There's nobody like you, for example, no one like a historian of metal or rock music who could talk about them and put them in context. So it really, I think the best part of it was just all the archival footage, and there were a bunch of archival interviews. But in terms of new material shot for the documentary, in terms of getting deep into any particular aspect of their career, there just wasn't any of that. So you got to go in knowing that. And if you do go in knowing that, if you're a fan, I think you'll like it, but just be forewarned that it's not a deep dive by any stretch.
My buddy Stoney told me that that Brian's in it, Slagle, right?
Yes, he's in it a couple of times.
So Slagle would fit that kind of historian documentary kind of role in some way, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. But he was, I think, maybe there was one other person like that, but he certainly was not on screen for a lot and didn't get way into it. It was more like as a fan and not putting them necessarily into historical context.
Right. Well, Jonathan, thank you for that report. Appreciate it. Slagle, Iron Maiden has nothing to do with Metal Blade, but they are Brian's all-time favorite band. He is hardcore. So I knew he was going to have a part in it. I never heard anything from anybody about it when it was being produced. I don't know who produced it. I don't know where they shot it. I don't know if the people are US based, English based, British based. I don't know. It just kind of seemed like it kind of came out of nowhere, but it is definitely, and Jonathan's kind of comments on it sort of support this. And again, if you go hear my interview with Steve Harris from just a few weeks ago, it's on the app. I mean, it was interesting. He definitely was very clear in that this was not their movie, but it's also odd for them to support something so much because we know they're an incredibly private, controlling entity, the way they do things. So kind of interesting, you know, but they're clearly supportive of it to the point they went to the premiere. But it's also odd when you don't have, you don't have anything new. So there's definitely seems like limited participation from them. Here's David in Pittsburgh. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Eddie, I can't believe I got through. I've been a long-time listener on the app, and I just had a chance to call, and you picked up, so this is awesome. Wanted to weigh in. Yeah, wanted to weigh in. I know there's people been talking about, do you look at set lists before you go to the shows? And my answer to that is yes, but for two different reasons. My wife is a huge 80s-based rock fan, and I am not. And so in the last few years, we've gone to see the Eagles, Bryan Adams twice. We just saw Journey earlier this year, Heart and Cheap Trick last year. And I don't really know that music. So I look at it before we go so I can listen before I go so I can know what to expect. And that's helpful. And then I hear some stuff and I'm like, oh, yeah, I've heard this before. I know this. On my side of things, and I know you're not, so I won't try and convert you, but I'm a gigantic Fish fan. And, you know, Fish notoriously doesn't repeat. In fact, by the way, they just did 9 nights in the Sphere. They didn't repeat a song. They did 161 different songs over 9 nights. They did repeat a few graphics, but no song repeats.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to see Fish, usually I'm dragging my adult daughter with me. And if I'm driving any distance, if there's something I'm wanting to hear and they played it the night before, I won't go because they're not going to play it that night. And so, it's kind of a different approach. But I think the set lists are hugely helpful for both of those reasons. And even though I said it's not really my cup of tea music-wise, I do love the show. I've learned a ton about music business, how to get good deals on tickets. And if I could just mention one other thing, because I'm a veteran, and I know you've got some other veterans that listen to your show, there's an app called VetTix where promoters and venue basically give away tickets to veterans. You have to pay a small handling fee, but there's a lot of good stuff on there that enables people to go to shows that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to go. But anyway, that's my thought. I just wanted to weigh in. I know you've got a lot of people, so thanks for doing what you do, and I'll keep listening.
David, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I am aware of VetTix, and that's a great service as well, and very, very small little way of thank you to say thanks to people like David and all the other veterans. And it's way, way too small of a thank you, but it's something. So that's a cool thing. We've not had that dialogue for a long time about, do you look at set lists? Do you want to know a set list before or after a concert? I think we did that as a call-in once. We could certainly go back and do that again. To me, and kind of agree with what David said, it's kind of case by case for me. If I want to or not, I just hosted a Cheap Trick show a couple weeks ago in Arizona, and I was backstage talking to the band before they went on, and Rick or Carla, their tour manager, came up and said, "Oh, here's the set list. You want to look at it?" I go, nope. Don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. Because I didn't want to know. But in other cases, I will want to see it. And sometimes it's helpful for me because if it's a band where I don't know every song, I can then go find that song later if I like it. Sometimes I want to see what the last song is on a set list because I'll know when I want to get out of there. If I want to beat traffic, I'll sacrifice that song to get a beat, get a jump on traffic. And usually it's the biggest hit, which again, I usually don't need to ever hear again. But yeah, it's case by case, but we can go back and revisit that at some point. Thank you for the call. Let's go another call from Pittsburgh. Here's Jim joining us. Hey, Jim, go ahead.
Hey, Eddie, what's up? Listen, if I don't speak to you next week, I'll be joining the 60-year-old group a week from Saturday.
Is that a group online or just in life?
No. The birthday.
Well, happy birthday to you, man.
Thank you. And as a letter carrier, don't forget tomorrow the annual food drive. If you have any canned goods for the unfortunate, okay?
Wait, Jim, let me stop you there. I don't know about this. Yeah. Is this just in Pittsburgh or is this a national thing?
No, it's every second week of May, the food drive.
So what is it? What does it do? Is it tied in with the post office? What do you do?
Yeah. People leave out canned goods at their houses, and we pick it up and take it back to the post office.
And that's a national thing. The whole country does that?
I've been doing it for 29 years.
I've never heard of that in New Jersey that I know of. Where I am now, I've never heard of that.
It's worldwide, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to know. I'm glad you put that out.
Okay. As far as be careful when you go on a cruise from now on. There's a hunter virus going around. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's all over the news right now. That's a cruise ship that's nowhere near America, but they're concerned about it being. I mean, that thing's 1,000 times more deadly than not 1,000, but way more scary than COVID. But they feel like
people died already.
Yeah, they feel like this is more isolated, and it might not have even originated on the cruise ship. There's stuff that's all over the internet now, or I've been seeing it on the news outlets. They're saying that there's like a long incubation period. Somebody may have went on the ship and had it, but didn't get it on the ship. So they're doing tracing and stuff. Hopefully this doesn't become a thing because it's pretty crazy. Yeah. But I don't think it's strictly related to cruises. I think it's just life at this point, unfortunately.
I got 3 docs for you. 2 I have saw already. The Hulk Hogan, which I really liked. And what I didn't know, did you know the Iron Sheik was the bodyguard for the Shah of Iran?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. And the story about the ABA, I thought it was pretty good. And I'm going to be watching the Jerry West, the logo. Now, the only person that didn't like it was Mad Dog. He said it wasn't poorly. It was poorly made, and there was a lot of stuff left out. So I'm going to check that out. It's called Jerry West, the logo.
No, I'll have to look for that.
It's on Prime.
All right, Jim. Well, listen, thank you very much. Appreciate you calling in. And Jim, with a little rundown of documentaries. As far as non-music docs, for me, I mentioned it last week, and now it's done. 4 episodes on HBO. The Dark Wizard. Ooh. You're looking for something to, as they say, binge this weekend? Not music related, but it is just crazy. The Dark Wizard on HBO. 4 one-hour episodes. They're all up now. About this extreme mountain climber, tightrope walker, wingsuit jumper, Dean Potter. And how his story ends, which is in episode 4, as I predicted. But yeah, that one had me captivated as somebody who does not like heights, and it's all about heights. Here's Mike in Rhode Island. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Oh.
Hey, Mike, you're on the air. Hello, Mike. Sounds like we lost Mike. Try us back. Here's Dave in Winnipeg, Canada. Hi, Dave.
Eddie, first-time caller, long-time listener, actually since day one on your show. Much respect, brother, for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Triumph concert, Tuesday night here in Winnipeg. They're just finishing up their Canadian tour. I got to tell you, I've heard all the comments, read on the social media, what everybody's saying. People, go out and see these guys. It was off the chart. They have brought Triumph 2.0 to another level. I can't say enough about that show. You know, Triumph is a 3-piece. They're very, you know, their music is great. It's timeless. But adding Phil, Brent, and Todd Kearns just took it to an extra level and opened up the songs. Those guys have not lost a beat. Rick and Gil, get out and see them. I'm telling you, it's an unbelievable show.
Hey, let me ask you, Dave. You made a comment saying, you know, the comments online. As a guy that doesn't really delve much into that world of comments, what are people saying? Has there been negativity about it?
Well, there's a little bit. You know, they complain about it's not the original band. Well, it is the original band. It's, you know, unfortunately, Mike cannot attend, you know, due to health reasons. That's all very well known. They pay a lot of homage to him throughout the show. But, you know, Rick and Gil, they're out there doing their thing, man. Like, it is Triumph. And like I say, what they have done is they've elevated it to a next level that, yeah, like it's unbelievable to see this. It's for what they're doing and at that point in their life, like what I've been reading, this is Triumph, man. Like it's not a tribute band by far. Like they have elevated it to the next level.
And was the place you saw the show in an arena, and was it well attended?
Yeah, full house. It was a sellout Canada Life Center.
Okay, and Phil X played the show you saw? Yes,
Phil X was there, yep.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you for that, Dave. Dave giving us a report in Canada on, of course, the Canadian band Triumph, who we've been talking about. It's been coming up quite a bit. The other day, On Wednesday on the Best of show, I re-aired the Triumph interview that I did when those guys first announced their reunion, the day they did it. And Mike Levine was part of that, if you heard it on Tuesday. And now we know, of course, that, as of now, Mike has yet to do a show. He has yet to appear. And everyone's certainly hoping he will. I said many times I would love, even if it's just for one song, for the original three only to be up there. And that's nothing against Brent or Todd or Phil, who are all friends and talents, and I love them all, but be cool just for that moment, that visual, because, look, I understand the sentiment. That's why I asked him what any of the negativity was about, because I do understand this is a very different configuration of Triumph. It's two people from the three, but with three extra people. So that is a different thing. It's going to dramatically change the sound of a band because you've got additional singers, you've got different players playing different parts that normally the three guys played. So of course it's going to be different. But if you want to hear these songs live, and this is the only way they felt they could do them and execute them and do them well, like I've said, I got no problem with that. As long as you're actually singing and playing live. I would have had a real problem if the original three guys went up there, who've been very open about their limitations at this point in their life, and then started faking it. Lip syncing tracks, fake stuff, then that's a problem. But you admit you need the help, and you decide to do it by bringing extra musicians for the live show. That is not uncommon. In some cases, artists hide those extra musicians under the stage, behind a curtain. I never really felt the need of why they need to do that, but some have, and I don't really like that. But now it's more common just to see some extra people out there. It's actually very common. And the one that nobody's talking about that's about to do this is also a Canadian band coming back. And that's Rush. It's amazing to me how glossed over, and maybe because they haven't played live yet, but they've already announced the guy. Rush is going to be a 4-piece when they tour. I mean, Rush is like the quintessential trio. Like the Rush fans love seeing Geddy stand on his head on stage. Playing with his feet, his arms, his elbows, his singing. Geddy can't do that anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. So Rush going to a 4-piece is really just because of the purity. Rush fans have this purity of that band. I think that's one that nobody's talking about that I think is pretty interesting. They're going to have a 4th person on stage for the first time since the first record came out, playing keys and singing. I think that's significant. But there's been so much focus on Annika and Neil not being there, obviously, and the drummer, that I think people are forgetting that, by the way, Rush is no longer a trio, at least for touring. 844-686-5863. My agent Saha checking in. Yes. Saha, what's on the docket today, buddy?
Eddie, as always, thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
And as always, Richard Christie, all of Trunk Nation thanks you for getting Eddie on Stern to promote his doc, so that's well done. Did you, I want to give a shout out. The Consequence, Twitter or the Twitter feed, they followed up on your story on the interview with Phil Collins, and they attached the little YouTube clip. So good job with that. That was excellent.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, we just put out some clips online today, actually, from the Phil Collins interview, which was on Tuesday. For those that missed it, it was on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a little while ago, so that's good.
Cool.
You were talking about the pop acts canceling tours. Some other ones did the Meghan Trainor and the Pussycat Dolls. They had to cancel. What a shocker! The Pussycat Dolls had to cancel their tour.
Yeah, I saw that written up somewhere too. That Meghan Trainor also came down with blue dot fever. I just think it's so funny.
But then on the other side, our other girl we talk about her once in a while, Olivia Rodrigo, she sold out everywhere, and she actually set the record at the Barclays, and I think that the Forum in LA, I think she's doing like 10 nights, each at each venue.
Well, last I looked, so I saw her tour routing because, as I mentioned, the reason why she comes up from time to time is because of the pop acts that are out there. She's probably the most rock leaning. She actually has real live musicians. They actually all play. She actually plays and sings live. So I respect her. And I did see she did SNL last week. And then they rolled out all these tour dates, and I noticed it was mostly 2 nights in arenas, except New York was 4 at the time it was announced in Brooklyn, and the Forum in LA, where she's from, was 4. So you're saying they expanded beyond those 4 in LA?
Yeah, I know because I was able to get Amex pre-sale for the Barclays. Yeah, now she's up to 10 nights at. I know for a fact that at the Barclays, I'm pretty sure at the.
She's doing 10 nights at the arena in Brooklyn?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she beat Jay-Z's record. Whatever. Sold out nights. Yeah.
And Sahab, let me ask you, what is her ticket pricing like? Is it reasonable or is it high?
Well, I got in for the Amex presale, so these days, I guess you want to say it's reasonable. I paid like $1.85 for each ticket. like lower third level for the venue.
Yeah, I mean, by today's pop standards, that is reasonable. So, I mean, that also could be why I know she's popular, but that also could be why she's doing such great business, because she's keeping things somewhat within reason. I mean, it's crazy to think a couple $100 is within reason, but it is for a decent ticket at a show at that level for sure.
Well, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I might not get to my question, but are you aware that Harry Styles is doing 30 nights at the Garden?
I had heard about that. That's just insane. That's just insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if these pop artists are big enough and they do a reasonably priced ticket and they can find a way to control the pricing, yeah, they're going to do that kind of business. Yeah, for sure. But I still say on all of them, if you go the day of the show, you're probably going to get in a little bit cheaper, but not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah, we know the deal. I'm not sure if I don't think you got to it. Did you see the Rolling Stone? I know how much you love the Rolling Stone, charts and all that. Did you see the article about the top 100 guitar solos?
Joel sent it to me. We're sitting on it to do a show on it and maybe have people call in on it, but I didn't look at it yet.
Yeah. All right, I'll just wait I'll wait till next time.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, have a good weekend. Thank you. All right, we'll see you. There he is, the Friday special there with Saha. I joke that he's my agent because he's always got ideas and things that need to happen for me. If I only actually had an agent that actually was as aggressive and forward-thinking as Saha, I might be making like real money. So funny. All right, let's do a little break here. And when we come back, more calls on a Free-for-All Friday as we get ready to wrap up the week. 844-686-5863. We'll come back. We'll have a good 45 minutes left to go here on Trunk Nation on a Free-for-All Friday. And we will continue right after this.
Free-for-All Friday with Eddie Trunk.
He's very well-read.
Sirius XM.
So effing good.
Faction Talk. listening to uncensored, unfiltered conversation. Trunk Nation's Free-for-All Friday.
I'm here for you to vent and say whatever you want
on All Things Rock with host Eddie Trunk.
This fan base is incredible.
SiriusXM's Fashion Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. A Free-for-All Friday is underway. We got a little time left to go, taking your calls on anything in rock and even getting some stuff that's not so rock, but that's all good. 844-686-5863 is your number if you'd like to get involved in the show. And let's get right back to the busy phones right now. Remember, get caught up with anything you may have missed from the week, including the Phil Collins interview from Tuesday. It's all on the SiriusXM app on demand for you guys to check out anytime you want. Back live with you guys on Monday. Also keep up on social media. It's where we let you know everything going on. At Eddie Trunk, X, Instagram page on Facebook, YouTube channel. And the show has accounts, which is Trunk Nation, SXM, X, Instagram, and now TikTok for that show account. Let's say hello to Daniel in Tennessee is our next caller today. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Eddie, it's good to hear from you.
You too, Daniel. What's happening today, buddy?
So I was going to call in to tell you about what band that I think is underrated and that should have gotten more credit. And I'm going to tell you the name, Black and Blue. And you know why I say that? Because they have a lot of great songs like Hold On to 18 and what's that other song? Miss Mystery. And that was Tommy Thayer's band before he joined KISS. And a lot of younger KISS fans that won't be able to tell, you know, the difference between Ace and Peter and stuff is what a lot of them don't know is about what Tommy Thayer originally is, because with him being in Black and Blue, I just don't think that Black and Blue gets enough credit that they should because of, you know, the songs that they have and also because of, you know, like I said, Tommy Thayer's band before he ever thought about even being the spaceman in KISS. I don't say Ace because he's not Ace Frehley. Great guitar player. I love Tommy Thayer, but nobody can really beat Ace. You know what I mean?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, Daniel, you know, Black and Blue, so a couple things there. You got to understand the timeline. Tommy Thayer did not leave Black and Blue to join KISS. Tommy Thayer was out of Black and Blue for decades working for KISS before he started performing with them, you know. So I don't know if you know that part of the story, do you?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
Okay, so he was Gene Simmons's assistant, and he worked for KISS for years behind the scenes. And he like Tommy did a lot of work on a lot of KISS projects. I think that big Kissology book he was involved in. He was like, thank you, Daniel. I'll try to give you a little backstory here. He was kind of like archivist, assistant. At one point, he was the band's tour manager. So he was, for many years, not actively playing and performing outside of just some jams and some tribute bands and things like that. He had a KISS tribute band called Cold Gin. So he was, you know, he was not actively out there playing in any band. He was more working in the business. But because he was already a big KISS fan and already portraying Ace in a KISS tribute, when that time came, he got the call because they were already comfortable with him and knew him well because he was working for them. But as far as Black and Blue, yeah, I mean, look, I used to see Black and Blue all the time when they first came out and in the original lineup, and they were great. And yeah, I mean, you can hear Tommy's playing, of course, on those records. And thing with him is there's a very bluesy, almost Southern rock style to some of his guitar playing. I've said many times, I think the Tommy Thayer story is really, really interesting. And I know Tommy and I like him. I've known him for a very, very long time. And I hope one day there's an opportunity that we can really get a long, detailed interview and get into that story, because I think it's fascinating. When you consider a guy, you know, he's a huge Kiss fan, starts an original band, gets signed to Geffen Records, Black and Blue. They don't really, you know, they do okay, but they didn't become big at all. Didn't break for whatever reason. Gene produces one of their records, one or two of their records. They go out on tour opening for Kiss. Again, it doesn't happen. The band falls apart. Common story. But then he ends up working for Kiss. And then he ends up getting into a Kiss tribute portraying Ace. And then he ends up replacing Ace in the actual band. I mean, whether you agree with how it all went down or what he did, or again, what he was told to do in terms of impersonating Ace, I mean, it's an incredible story. It's like something that could be a movie. But yeah, Black and Blue had some great records, some great songs. They still exist. They'll play a few times a year. They play a lot on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and they just did. And it's, I think, 2 or 3 original guys. And then, of course, last year, Black and Blue played at the Kiss Vegas event, and Tommy did get up and do a few songs with them. And they actually asked me to introduce them, and I did at that show. And finally, Tommy and Jamie St. James, the singer in Black and Blue, just recently made new music together. But it's not under the name Black and Blue. It's under the name Thayer St. James. It's an EP, and it's really good. It's out now. So there's your update on that. Here is Cal in Georgia joining us. Go ahead, Cal.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going?
Good, man. What's going on?
All right. I want to share my David Lee Roth concert review, and there's 2 parts to it. I went to Nashville to see him, and to say it was a great show would be an understatement. And the band was great. The backup singers were great. And I know you talked a lot about his vocal performance on Monday, but to me, it was a really great show. And my favorite part of it was during Dance the Night Away, he brought up a 12-year-old girl, and she started singing it. And there's actually video of it on socials that'll probably explain more than me.
So you were not bothered by the lead vocal?
No, not really.
Okay, well, to each their own. I mean, look, Cal, the clip I saw, people told me I was being way too kind. I was trying to be kind. But I mean, you know, maybe he did. Maybe the key is to bring a girl up to sing that song every time he's going to do it. Or no, was it Beautiful Girls, the clip I saw? I forget which song it was. But where did you see Dave perform?
I saw him at the Ryman Auditorium, and yeah, this comes to the second part of the story.
Okay.
Okay. I after the show, I was attempting to try to meet him, but unfortunately, I was too late. But the crazy thing is, and I saw none other than David Bryan of Bon Jovi walking out to Dave's bus, and so I got to meet Dave, but not Roth. So. And by the way, David Bryan was at the show, so it wasn't just out of the ordinary.
Oh, yeah. And, well, David Bryan lives here in New Jersey, but I believe he is either has a place there or gets to, as a musician, you know, makes sense. A lot of these guys do get to Nashville, a lot of session work and things like that they might be doing. Thank you, Cal. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Again, to each their own. There are people that can't quite figure out what's going on there. Maybe there's better nights than others. I don't know. I've not seen Dave live. I do think there's also an element of just the fact that the songs are so great that people are just going to look past anything at this point because they're happy to see the guy up there squiggling around and doing his little dance and, you know, strutting around and singing his songs or doing the best he can to sing them. And if that's how you feel, that's all good as well. Until I see it live in person myself, it's hard to, you know, to say more. But some of the stuff online for what you want to make of that is absolutely not something you want to be hearing. Here's Mark in St. Augustine, Florida. Hey, Mark.
Brother Trunk, love your show, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, buddy.
So week and a half ago on a Wednesday, it was my birthday. So my birthday is the same day that Van Halen released Fair Warning in 81. So in 81, I was in the Air Force, and I didn't get to see him at the Sportatorium. Like somebody called in and said they had played the Sportatorium 2 years in a row. I was on deployment, but I saw Van Halen in October of 81 when they did those 2 shows in Orlando with the Stones. So that's the first time I got to see Van Halen. I love Van Halen. I thought it was a great show. I am not a Stones fan, so I left after Van Halen. So I was down in Daytona to see Brit Floyd. And you guys were talking about Brit Floyd last week. I think somebody mentioned something about them possibly going to Sphere. So as far as I'm concerned, the show they put on in a 2,500-seat theater is so fucking good, Eddie. You wouldn't want to see it in the Sphere. I mean, the images, the screens. So their tour, this is the second time I've seen them. Their tour is the moon, the wall, and beyond. So they play 3 hours. They played 29 songs with a 20-minute intermission. The guitars are huge. So this is why I'm saying you wouldn't want to see them in the Sphere, because you actually interact with the guys on stage. But the lasers, the lights, it's top notch. It's fantastic. They're playing a shitload of concerts on this tour. I would recommend everybody to go see them in a theater. I paid $90 for the ticket. And get this, I got a shot of Crown in a 20-ounce beer for $16.
Oh, wow. That's a deal right there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, that just for clarity, Mark, nobody said that Brit Floyd was going to play the Sphere. The conversation was about, do you think a tribute band doing a huge production paying tribute to a band, like everybody universally agrees that Pink Floyd would be the ultimate band to ever see in the Sphere. So given that Pink Floyd is no longer together, could you see a band put a big production endorsed by Pink Floyd doing their music with the images and visuals working in the Sphere? And that's what we were speculating about, like a band like that. But nobody ever said that they were at a point they could do the Sphere.
Right. But what I'm saying is, why would you want to see them in Sphere when you'd have to pay $1,000 a ticket when you can see them for $150, $90 in a 3,000, person theater? Because that's what the show is made for.
Well, I would ask you this, though, Mark. Have you seen a show in the Sphere yet?
I have not. I've seen videos of stuff in the Sphere, and it just looks to me like the band is kind of like, it's like they're not part of the show.
I can tell you this, there's something to be said for that, for sure, Mark. Thanks, Mark, for the call. That is a valid criticism with shows at the Sphere, in that the band is almost secondary. The band actually being there is almost secondary because the place is so big, the band is very small, and you're looking more at the screens than anything else. So that I do understand that. But one thing, I just was talking about these clips of David Lee Roth or whatever. I mean, there's a lot you can take from fan cell phone stuff, but there's a lot that you can't, right? It's not totally accurate. Sound, visuals, whatever. When it comes to the Sphere, I can tell you, having been in there now for a few shows, you absolutely cannot capture what Sphere is all about from anything you're seeing online. That is something where you have to be there and in that building, hearing it and seeing it. That is not something that any social media video is going to do justice to. And the reason why I asked Mark if he had ever actually seen a show there before making that assessment is for that reason. Because to answer his question, yeah, the price would be way, way more money and all of that, but the experience would be mind-blowing. And no matter how good what he saw in the theater was, it's a whole different level when you're talking about a globe with 18,000 people with the most state-of-the-art images and sound ever created. Completely different game. And again, I don't know if anything will ever happen like that. I don't know if we'll ever see a tribute band get big enough to play there. I think that it would need to have the endorsement of the actual band they're playing tribute to. So again, the hypothetical that we were talking about was, could there be a scenario where, using Pink Floyd as an example, a Pink Floyd tribute with the endorsement of the real Pink Floyd, with the backing of the real Pink Floyd, the resources, the money to do the visuals and the sound, go into a place like that and sell it out. Multiple nights, which is what you really would have to do. Could a Zeppelin do it? I mean, I was talking the other day about the Stones record coming out. And the Stones did do some sort of media launch in Brooklyn the other day for this record. Now, I've not seen any headlines from it, so I don't know if the questioning was all controlled or whatever. But to my knowledge, they didn't say, and I don't know if they were asked about playing live shows. But if I'm the Stones and I was going to play live, if they are entertaining that, Stones would be a no-brainer to go to the Sphere. They don't have to travel. 80-year-old guys, they don't have to travel. Of course, the Stones, they all have their separate jets and all that. It's not like they're getting in a van and staying at the Red Roof. They're, the highest level you could possibly be at for travel. But still, it grates on you, especially at that age. So they would be great candidates for something like that. There's a million Zeppelin tributes. I don't know if Jimmy Page endorsed one. Could they do it? I don't know. Jimmy Page shows up. I don't know. Sure, it's been explored, but Pink Floyd is the number one band for a lot of reasons that people think would work in that building and would be the ultimate given the visuals and sound and what have you. By the way, speaking of that venue, No Doubt started their residency there. That blows my mind. They went to like 15 shows or something like that. And I just didn't think, a lot of that's about Gwen Stefani and her fame as a solo artist and all of that, but still. And I saw kind of mixed reviews about what they did in there. I don't know, they just didn't strike me as a band that made sense in that building, but apparently they sold a lot of tickets. So what do I know? Let's go to John in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Eddie. Great to talk to you again.
Thanks.
So, not what I called for, but I started watching The Dark Wizard last night, and it's freaking crazy. And then I also watched The Mortician based on your recommendation, and so freaking weird, but
yeah, that was that was like a year ago. That one, yeah, that
yeah.
Was also
I just watched it like 2-3 months ago or something. And I was like, this is crazy. But
John, are you a guy? Are you a guy that doesn't? Are you a guy like me that does not like heights?
No, I don't care about heights that much.
Oh, so you weren't.
Still,
I
only watched the first episodes. Yeah, I only watched the first episode. So what he's doing with no ropes or anything, that's insane to me. I don't comprehend that. So
do you know how it ends?
No,
you know that
I only
guy's
watched
story?
the first episode.
All right, I'm not going to tell you.
No,
but in episode 4, you know how it ends. The last
I would
episode
have guessed.
you see. Yeah.
But I'm calling. Have you listened to the new Operation Mindcrime 3 from Jeff Tate?
Only the songs that were released. Did the whole record come out?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't listened to the whole record yet.
All right. I think it's excellent. It's because I thought Mindcrime 2 was not good at all, but this is a very good album, especially coming from Dr. X's point. It's a very cool kind of thing.
So you feel it's a good third piece to the story?
I do, because I mean, one is probably my top 2 concept albums against Dream Theater Scenes from Memory. But this one is really it's pretty solid.
Well, that's good. I mean, when you consider obviously that this one is not a Queensryche record, remember, obviously that's the big difference. The other two were Queensryche records. This is a Jeff Tate record, so different musicians.
So it definitely made me interested that he's going to be at Penn's Peak in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to definitely try and go there. So it's really, really good, and his voice is amazing. Granted, it's on record, but still, it's really good.
Very cool. Well, thank you, John. Appreciate that. I didn't realize that came out, the full album. Again, I talk about this so much, I know, but it's so hard to know when these actual full albums come out because people start doing press for new albums 6 months before the album comes out, and there's 5 songs out before the album comes out now. Makes me crazy. I got a call 2 days ago about having an artist on when the product is not coming out until November. It's like, what? Like, there's nothing to even listen to or see yet or read. It's like, what? I will never understand that. People doing publicity for things that are 5-6 months out. It's so counter as well to the fact that all you hear about now is people with short attention spans. Everything's quick hit, short attention spans. So can't blame anybody for not knowing when something actually is out. The most logical one I ever saw was the Black Crowes when we had Rich Robinson on recently. It was, if you heard the interview, I said to Rich right out of the gate, I go, man, this is amazing. You're actually doing press the week your album is out. So everybody that's hearing you could literally go buy the record right now. Not, well, yeah, it's going to come out on November 15th, but we're doing press today in early May. Like, what? For what? Like, nobody, you're talking about something that nobody can hear or buy. It's odd. Somebody hit me up about doing an interview for a book that's not out until November, that me or nobody else has read in May? Like, what? Why? It used to be, that stuff used to happen back in the day when there was only print media before the internet, because magazines and newspapers had lead times. That doesn't happen anymore. You can get something turned around in 30 seconds, or in the case of this show, it's live. So yeah, it's very, very hard to keep up with that. It's an odd thing. Here is MJ joining us from Rockford, Illinois. Hi, MJ.
Hey, Eddie. What's going on, man? How you doing today?
Good. What's going on?
Good. I just wanted to bring the Sphere back up again. Fish just completed their 9-show residency there and ended up not playing any song twice. I know you said get in there, you need a big production, and they had that, but visuals were pretty much adapted to each song in real time.
Well, I mean, Fish is an anomaly because they've got such an incredible fan base and people will go see them multiple nights and they don't repeat songs. So, yeah, that's a completely different thing. I think the visuals, whatever they do or don't do, is I think no matter what, they would go in there and sell out, even if they put nothing but a blue screen on the wall.
You got a little bit of truth there. All right, that's all I got, buddy. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's say hi to Jester, who's joining us in Pennsylvania today. Hi, Jester.
Hi, Eddie. Well, you got a great show with all these callers on it. It begs more questions than what I actually called for. But I got to comment a little bit on or ask you something on the black and blue thing. That guy called from Tennessee, I believe, about black and blue. Didn't Slagle put out one of their songs on one of his compilations way back when, like on one of the Metal Massacre albums or something?
Yes. Yeah. When Brian sat in with me one time, he told me that like super early on, early 80s, there is a song, I think on Metal Massacre 2, those early compilations he did. I think there is one.
Yeah. And like I said, that just came up when that caller said that. And I remember that, but I haven't thought about black and blue for that long. And what's it been, 45 years or something? Secondly, the Sphere thing. I remember years ago, and I was too young to attend, but I remember hearing on WDVE in Pittsburgh about the Buell Planetarium at the time would put on these things, and they would play Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album under the stars, essentially, with the lasers and all this and that. How long until you think something like that happens at the Sphere? Because with all this licensing and everything now, I mean, really, that could be a filler.
Yeah, well, Jester, that's why it originally came up a while ago on the show a few times, and I actually brought that example exactly up, not that particular planetarium, but we talked about this just a couple weeks ago. There was and Joel looked it up, the place still exists, but there is a place called growing up New York, New Jersey area, I would always hear these commercials on local radio for the Hayden Planetarium, and they would have Pink Floyd, same deal. They'd play the music and people would just listen to the music and look at the ceiling and it all tripped out and whatever. So that's actually that exact example is the catalyst of why I brought it up and saying the Sphere would be doing that on steroids, even without a live band playing. So I think it's entirely possible. I think he could do it.
Yeah, and for sure. And the fact that it kind of ties in with David from Pittsburgh earlier talking about going to see Fish. I mean, I'm sure that dude was at the Buell on some mushrooms or whatever way back when. The main reason for my call initially, I had $150 I didn't have anything to do with, so I went to the grocery store the other day to get a bag and a half of groceries. But while I was standing in line, I heard a conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping, but I was listening. The people behind me were talking about gold records, and it got me to thinking, did the record clubs sales, quote-unquote sales, come into play on those old RII designations, gold, platinum, etc.? So I looked it up, and it did. In fact, I found out that Hootie and the Blowfish sold 3 million albums on the Columbia Record House club just there. What I want to know, if you know, do the royalties come out the same? The mailbox money, does that come out the same for those sales as a normal record sale would?
That I don't know. I mean, the record clubs have been gone for a long time, so that I don't know about the payment. I would imagine it did. I mean, the thing I remember about the old record clubs, whether it was Columbia House, BMG, whatever, and I'm surprised to hear that about Hootie, because I didn't think the record clubs were still going when Hootie came out with that record. But
yeah, I think 2010 was the last of it.
Yeah, because the one thing that I do remember, though, is that the record clubs the records would be a little different, meaning that the packaging could be a little bit different. And if you looked small in the back corner of the jacket or the packaging, it would say licensed to Columbia House by whatever the label was, Atlantic or whatever. So you would see that. They would have to designate that because they would license the master, and then they would actually be, I believe, created by the record club in their own pressing plants. So there would always be like a little difference in the packaging, maybe the liner notes. In some cases, like if there was a song on the record, and thank you, Jester, there's a song on the record where it's like maybe deemed offensive or language or whatever, and the record club didn't want to include that song for whatever reason, they'd do their own censorship. and you might get a slightly different version of the song. There was always these thoughts too. People would be like, oh, they're different recordings. That wasn't really the case, but there could be tiny little differences. And you could definitely see in the artwork and the packaging, if you looked small in the back jacket, there would be language that would say issued under license to RCA or Columbia House or BMG Record Club, whatever it was. And the reason why I know that specifically is because having worked in a record store for so many years, one of the moves that people used to do is they would get the 10 records for a penny, and then they would, because remember, the record clubs, for those that remember them, they didn't have everything. You know, there might be 50 titles you could pick from or 100 titles. It wasn't what you'd get in a record store, 1,000 different options. So people would get their 10 records or whatever it was for a dime, and then they'd be like, okay, I want to keep this one, this one, this one, but these 4 I don't really want. And they try to bring them back and exchange them at their local record store for stuff that they actually wanted that they couldn't get through the club. And we were hip to that because we would see that, first of all, most of the time you'd require a receipt, which they couldn't produce because they didn't buy the record from you. And then they would also, but they'd say, oh, I'm just trying to exchange it, even exchange. Okay, even if you were willing to do that, then what we do is we look at the back of the record, fine print, issued under license to the RCA Record Club. Boom. Hand it right back to the person. Nice try. You didn't buy that at a record store. Because we couldn't return those records. So the way it worked, and I believe it's still the case for record stores now, but so much has changed, obviously, with record stores now versus when I worked in them. But, you used to be able to return records that didn't sell. So, if you bought 50 copies of a new album from whatever band, and the record, as we called it in the industry, was a stiff, meaning it didn't sell, and you're sitting on these and nothing's happening with them, and you're sitting on them for however long, and you're like, you know what, this record's never going to sell. This is a bomb. You could take those records, the unsold copies, box them up, send them back to the record company for credit or a refund. You had a certain period of time to do it. But if you sent back a record club copy, you wouldn't get credit for it. You get stuck with it. So that was another reason why you had to be careful as to where it was coming from and what you were taking back. There's a whole process to it at the time. But whether the artist got paid the same on it, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. I would think they did. Artists also could have in their contract that they didn't want their album to be made available in the record clubs. So a lot could have depended upon the contract. Just like in the early days of streaming, you could have artists in their contract that wouldn't allow streaming. Some artists held out on streaming because the payments were so poor. That's why you had some artists re-recording their catalogs or their albums, because they wanted to control the masters. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes down to contractually as well, how it all works. See, when we're in free-for-all mode, you never know what the hell we're going to get into, and that makes it so much fun. So, thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the show throughout the week. I hope you all have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And I will be back live with you on Monday for both shows. Of course, getting started with this one, the Daily Show on Faction Talk every day at 3 Eastern on 103. All right, that's it for the week. Have a good one, and we'll get back together on Monday. We'll pick it up then. Take care.
I